Welcome to Schmitt Tonight. The deceptive practice of astroturfing is essentially the manufacturing of outrage that doesn't really exist. And right now, the left is using money to create the illusion that their radical ideas are widely supported and that the common sense that this country is returning to is widely protested. We've seen it recently with several Doge protests at GOP town halls that really made no sense. Take a look. Screams everywhere, all of that anger. Over what? An audit of the federal government? Listen to all of this. Well, new reporting from the Washington Free Beacon shows that this anger that you're seeing right behind me is being fabricated with very dark money. We've seen several protests designed to convince Americans that Doge is very unpopular, that nobody wants the government to be more efficient and smaller. Left-wing activists realize that's all it takes for millions of people in our country who are incapable of thinking for themselves to decide that Doge must be bad. Look at all these outraged people on TV. This must be a bad thing. I shouldn't support this. AstroTurfing can be very effective. Sadly, we humans are not the brightest at all times. And the media does its part. A headline from the New York Times: Republicans face angry voters at town halls, hinting at broader backlash. That's from the New York Times. The Times lending coverage and credibility to an AstroTurf protest which would have never happened organically. That's why they call them the fake news. Other outlets, of course, did the same. CBS, NBC. And now you see the inner workings of the political matrix that we live in. Using dark money, the left manufactures outrage, the media then goes and covers it, and your country turns to the left. It has worked for years. It's never been legitimate. It never really made any sense to most of us, and it's not legit now. After all, when you listen to this from Elon Musk, think to yourself, who could actually oppose what he's saying?
If we don't do this, America will go bankrupt. That's why it has to be done. Doge is a support function for the president and for the agencies and departments to help achieve those savings and to effectively find 15% in reduction in fraud and waste. I should say we will make mistakes. We won't be perfect, but when we make a mistake, we'll fix it very quickly.
The smartest man alive is very humble, he's very normal, very pragmatic. Working to save our country from bankruptcy, working to cut waste in multiple agencies so there's more money to do the critical functions that Americans actually need if they need government. What real person organically decides to protest something like that? Well, the answer is nobody organically. They got to get paid. So who's behind the scam is the question. Who's astroturfing GOP events to create the illusion that Doge is destabilizing the country? Well, it's a group called Indivisible, which is funded by George Soros and headed up by these two people. The girls' parents worked for Obama. They're using a war chest of more than $11 million to create all of this outrage over Doge that nobody actually really feels. And this is how fake the American left really is. Fake and growing very, very desperate. This week, a congresswoman from Ohio suggested that Elon Musk may not be loyal to America because he's only been a citizen for 22 years. I guess that's not long enough for her. But for the past 4 years, Marcy Kaptur, seen here behind me, cheered as millions of illegals entered our country via fake asylum claims. She had no problem with that whatsoever. But one guy from South Africa here for 22 years, that's a problem. Illinois' governor has reduced himself to likening Trump to Hitler lately and the new administration to the Third Reich. J.B. Pritzker is warning of a Nazi regime in the White House while at the same time funding the protests of people who are screaming that we need to kill all the Jews, like this one today in Manhattan. And a whole lot of keffiyehs in the crowd. And then on CNN last night, a Long Island college professor just casually said this.
We are in the middle of a totalitarian fascist coup in this country. Yes. And when we don't call it that, when we soft pedal it, when we don't have a real discussion about it.
Makes for good TV, right? But sadly, nobody is really watching any of this nonsense anymore. You take a look at CNN primetime ratings, the first month of Trump's first term back in 2017 compared to the past month, and it's way down. At times, we remember during Trump's first term, CNN would pull 3-4 million viewers in primetime as they screamed with their hair on fire every night. But of course, they cried wolf one too many times. It's all fake. It's all been exposed. The ratings are down. Nobody's listening to this noise. Americans can see the astroturfing. They can see the Matrix.
You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt tonight on Newsmax.